Hello, my name is Kate and I work for Cheshire East Libraries. In this video, I'm going to give you a demonstration of ancestry using the examples of two Cheshire-born authors. One author who was born and died in the 19th century and who wrote Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll, whose real life name was Charles Ludwig Dodgson, and the event in his life I will focus on is his birth. Now, if you have watched the Cheshire East video on an introduction to family history, then you will know that it can be useful to note down for each life event the when, the where and the how. So in this case, when, 27th of January 1832, where was All Saints Vicarage in Daresbury, Cheshire, and the how. In other words, how do I know this? Also known as the source. Right, in this case it's Wikipedia, which is not always 100% reliable, so we will try to corroborate the information by using Ancestry. So here we are on the Ancestry Libraries Edition homepage. You can see the green begin searching button there. But we're going to scroll down the screen a bit. You can see you can search the census, search vitals, search military, search immigration, and sometimes it's easier to search specifically for what you're looking for. And a lot of quick links, and over on the right, the census records. I won't go through all of them, but you can sometimes be searching something very specific. Let's click on the UK Census Collection. It's a good place to start with 19th century ancestors. So we're going to put in the information we have on Lewis Carroll. There's his real name, Charles Ludwig, and Dodgson for the surname. That middle name will either be very helpful or it might make it more difficult, we'll see. Going to put in his year of birth, 1832, and we're going to put in Daresbury. And you can see there's a drop down box comes up. Make sure you're picking the UK town and not an American one, often happens, unless you've got ancestors in the States. Right, clicking on search. And here's the result page, all the UK Census Collection results. And you'll see top of the results, we've got the 1891 England Census, followed by 1851, 1861, a little scroll down here, 1881, 1841, 1871 and 1901, it goes on. Now we're going to start off with 1841, which is the earliest census that has interesting information for family historians normally. Here we go, right. If you haven't done this before, you do need to get used to some of the handwriting. Over on the right, you'll see there's a magnifier. You can make it a bit bigger, can be easier. So if we have a look, this is Newton by Daresbury Parsonage House. If you remember, we knew that he was born in the vicarage in Daresbury. And the first name that comes up is Charles Dodgson, clergyman, who presumably is his father, although it doesn't tell us that in the 1841 census. Later censuses do have family relationships. Now the ages for adults are 5, rounded down to the nearest 5 years. So his father at 40 would be 40 or 41, 42, 43, 44. And his mother would have been 35 to 39. Anyhow, going down, we've got Francis, Elizabeth, and then Charles. That's Lewis Carroll. Now, to save this, we've got the option between sending the image home, which you'd normally do when you are in the library, or saving to this computer, which is what you can do now. Just click on that, and once you've clicked on it, it will appear down on the bottom left, down there on the bottom left of your screen. You should be able to see the file. Click on it again, and then you can save it to your computer. So we're coming back to that record, and going back to all the results now. And we're going to have a look at the 1891 census. We're going to go straight into the image on this one. And this one is in Oxfordshire, St Aldgate, which is centre of Oxford. And you'll notice, if you look down on the left, that this is Christchurch College. And there are different houses. And if we're down here, the fourth one down is Christchurch Dr Paget's house. In fact, just the children are there with the servants. Just remember the Paget, will come up in a bit. And then we keep going down, and the next one is Christchurch Col, I think that would be college. And down there, the third person there is Charles L. Dogson. Very often names are written incorrectly in the census. And he's 59, living on his own means, presumably living off Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And it does say he was born in Daresbury. I say the 1891 census tells you where people were actually born, depending on what they have told the enumerator who took the census. And again, you can save that. Right, let's go back. So that's just two quick examples of census returns. And now we're going to go in and do a more general search. So put in the same information. And against his birth, if you're not sure of the exact year, it's often worth putting plus or minus 1, 2, 5 or 10, just to give you a few more options. And we're going to put in exact for Dodgson. But in fact, let's see what that brings up. So we're now getting somebody's family tree with a Lewis Carroll in, but we're going to ignore that for now. We're going to go down. We've got the census returns we've already seen. And then we've got select bishop's transcripts, and it's mentioning his baptism, 11th of July 1832. Right, here we go. Now this is an example of a record where there's no image. So this is what we call a transcription. But it's got the information there. Ideally, if you can get to see the original, so much the better. And at the bottom, it's showing us, Ancestry is showing us where it has its source information from. So we'll go back again to that same screen and scroll down and see what else we can find. More census returns. And then this is a bit unusual. You'd be very lucky if you do have anyone, certainly between 1880 and 1892, who was at Oxford, because this is quite an interesting entry. Right, there we go, down there, Dodgson, Reverend Charles Lutwidge. Gives details of him and his studies. Right, let's go back again. And back to all results. Now, having looked at the bishop's transcript for his baptism, we can also find down here a burial record for him in Surrey, and we'll look at this one's got an image. And we're going to see the actual parish register where the burial was actually recorded. And if we look down here on the left hand side, there it is, Charles Lutwidge Dodgson, living at the Chestnuts, which I happen to know, believe was his sister's house. And this was in 1897. That's when he died. January 19th, he was buried, age of 66, and the ceremony was performed by Francis Paget, Dean of Christ Church, Oxford. So we saw his family on the 1891 census return. Okay, so that's just a few examples of things that you can find for some 19th century ancestors. It may well be that your family tree does not yet go back as far as the 19th century. So I'm also going to use the example of a second Cheshire-born author, someone who was born in the 20th century and is still alive today, Alan Garner, the author of many children's books, including The Weirdstone of Brisingamen Men, and also many adult books, including Thursbitch. From his wonderful 2018 memoir called Where Shall We Run To, which I'm going to use as the how here, in which incidentally he relates how he first read Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland while wearing a gas mask in his primary school. From this book we also learn that he was a small boy living in Alderley Edge, that's our where, during the Second World War. So the when is between 1939 and 1945. Now also, I know from the Blackburn Trust website, how, that Alan Garner has lived at Toad Hall, where, since buying it in 1957 until now. That's the when. So now let's have a look for our 20th century born Alan Garner. Go straight to begin searching on the green button there. Now we'll put in his name and just put Cheshire, and again we'll get a drop down list, so make sure we pick Cheshire, England. Whoever knew there were so many Cheshires around. And his birth year, we know he's 1930s by putting 35 and plus or minus 5 years. That will give him anybody born in about the 30s. Click on search. If you can do another time, show more options, gives you more options you can look for. Searching for him now. The first person is from a family tree, we're not interested in him. Second person has died, so that's not him. Then we've got the England and Wales Register. Now by hovering like this, it comes up to show us this Alan lived in Birkenhead, so he's not the right one and has probably since died. But let's click on view image so we can have a look at this register. Now you'll notice there are a number of records are blacked out, and this is because the record's officially closed, because that person could potentially still be alive and would be under 100 years of age. So this means that we wouldn't be able to search for Alan's actual record because of this. This register doesn't show family relationships, but it does give an exact date of birth. Right, the next entry coming down is electoral registers. Somebody in crew, don't know. Let's have a look. But we can see that in fact it looks like that is him, I think, because it mentions Toad Hall, the house now owned by the Blackburn Trust. So there's no image for this, but it does confirm that he was born in the 1930s and that at least he was living there between 2003 and 4. So that's a fairly brief glimpse at somebody born in the 20th century. So this has been a fairly brief introduction to some of the resources that Ancestry offers, but I hope it's given you a taste for hunting down those ancestors in the records. Now when the libraries reopen, you'll be able to return to them to use Ancestry and Find My Past. And also, if you feel you need further help in discovering your family using online resources, then many libraries can offer you a one-to-one session for a small fee to help you with this. Thank you for watching this video and good luck with your research. Goodbye.